Hello guys, welcome to another video from trycoder.com, and today we're going to be looking at something very special. As you can see on my screen, today we're going to be looking at how we can upload images in Mongo DB using Express JS and Multer. If you are new in this channel, please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that whenever we upload any new content you would be notified. And if you're also looking for the written content of this tutorial, you can always check out our website TechWorkDiary.com, where you would find our written content, and not only about Node.js but about other programming languages or frameworks. So today, as mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about how we can upload images in Mongo DB database using Express JS and Multer. So guys, it's a beautiful morning here, and so you might hear birds singing, and just understand and bear with us. So I would first of all want to explain something very important. Have you ever asked yourself the mechanism or the logic which happens or take place whenever a video is being uploaded, or a file or an image is being uploaded in the database? Have you ever wondered how that happens? Well, let me just explain. What actually happens is that the file, or in our case we'll be talking about an image, the image is uploaded and stored in a folder on the server. Uploaded and stored in a folder found in the server. For the file to actually be placed, let's say for example at the front end, it is then referred to the location where it is found on the server. We're going to look into more of that when we'll be coding this out. In Node.js or in building web applications, images are kind of very important. For example, let's consider the case of building a blog. We have feature image, and which needs to be stored alongside with the blog title and the blog content. In Express web applications, there are several tools which can be used to upload images in a database. We have gridFS, we have formidable, but in this tutorial we're going to be using Multer. And you should take note that Multer is actually a third-party middleware which obviously allows us to upload images, but then we must actually install Multer since it is not built in. And so if we write down to the npm page of the Multer middleware, it tells us that Multer is a Node.js middleware for handling multi-platform data. And so it gives us how we could install that. As you can see, we have the Git repository, and which could equally be helpful for those who want to check out other stuff about Multer. And here we have the command to install Multer, which is npm install -- save Multer. So to actually do that, you just need to write down to your project directory and open it up in a command prompt, and then type npm install Multer, and you hit enter. It will be downloaded and installed in your local machine. But for my case, since I've already got the installation in my local machine, there's no need doing that anymore. After installation, open up your IDE So in this tutorial we're going to be building a simple Express app which simply enables us to collect a user's first name, last name, and probably an image, and store it in our database and then retrieve later on the front end. And so we're going to be making use of Express, Multer, EJS template engine. So if you do not have those, you could search them out on npm and make sure they are installed in your local machine. So to begin, we are going to require the main packages we are actually going to use. So we begin with Express. Then Multer, require, and then we are going to make use of Mongoose. Mongoose is an ODM which helps us easily manipulate how we use Mongo DB. And then body parser, require, now let us connect to our database, and this can be achieved using mongoose.connect. Connect to our database, and so this can be achieved using the .connect method. Which takes, since we are using a database in our local machine, we're going to simply make use of localhost. The name of our database. So in this tutorial I'm going to be using MongoDB Compass, which is kind of a GUI for managing our database. Connect. So we have a database here called studies. So I'm going to use the studies database. I think I should delete this collection so that we start everything afresh. Okay, so we're going to use the studies database. And then we're going to check. Let's set up some few configurations to actually avoid error when connecting to a database. Use new URL parser, set that to true, and then use unified topology, set that to true. Okay, so next let us add a port app.listen to check out if everything works well. 3000. Console.log running on port 3000. So let's quickly test. Let's just add this row, the home, hello. So let's run a script. In this tutorial I'm going to use NoteMon, which is a node monitor. It actually saves us time to run the script whenever we've made changes in our file. Oops, there is an error. We forgot creating an instance of Express, and so var app Express, we save. Okay, everything works well, running on port 3000. Therefore, if we open port 3000, we're going to see hello. Okay guys, everything works well. Next, let us set up some few things that are going to be very helpful as we build our application. First, let us make our web application use the EJS view engine, and so var EJS require EJS. Then app.set view engine EJS. Then let us set up a static folder app.use express.static and then uploads. So probably in your project folder you should have, in your project directory you should have the folder uploads and the views folder, since this is actually required to contain our EJS files. And quickly let's set up body parser, app.use, for now let's comment this out. Okay guys, now to actually fulfill our goal, we need to set up a form. We need to actually set up a form where we are actually going to upload our file, our image file, where we are going to get our first name and the last name of a user. And then we equally need to set up an EJS file where the list of saved users and their images can be displayed on a table. So to begin, we're going to set up a home, and that's why in my folder, in my views folder, I have home.ejs. You quickly set that up, and then there we're going to simply add up an HTML template. So we're going to add as title Multer, and then we're going to add a form at the body. Write some HTML code. Form action, we're actually going to set this to a post route, and the method is going to be post, and then the encoding type is going to be multi-part form data. You should actually take note of this because Multer doesn't allow uploading without this configuration, without this encoding type. Then let's set up a form field, input type. Let's label that out. Let's say label first name, and then input type text, name. The name attribute, we have fname as first name, placeholder, input first name. I think that's set for this. And so we do same for the others. We're going to have last name, and then input type text, name, input last name. Now we're going to add another section for uploading, so label for image. Upload image. Then the input type here is going to be file. Name is going to be image. And I think that's it. And guys, you could equally add the required attribute if you actually want to add that. Button type, submit. Save. Okay guys, that's set. We have set up our form where we're going to upload our data in the file home.ejs. Now we actually need to set up a route which will display this form so that a user can actually fill in the form and submit. And so to achieve that, we are going to just modify this a home, and rather than respond.send, we're going to do a respond.render, and we pass in the name of the file, which is home. So let's try that out. Let's check our node monitor, everything goes well. And that's it guys, we have a form. Let's quickly fix up some things to make it look kind of presentable. Here. Alright guys, that's it, that's it. Let's quickly fix out the spelling of Multer over here, or let's put that all in caps. Multer. Alright guys, that's it, it all works fine. As you can see, at our home we have that. Next, let's continue setting up our server. Now we need to set up our server in such a way whenever a user fills in the form and uploads an image, it gets saved in our Mongo database. To achieve this, we are going to use mongoose. And first we need to set up a schema, which is a kind of model to our data to be saved in the database. and then after that we need to create a post route where we're going to collect the information filled into the form on our back end and then save that in our database. So to begin, let us quickly set up a schema. To set up a schema, we simply need to make use of mongoose. Let's call it user schema, because we're going to be getting a kind of information about users. So new mongoose.schema, where we're going to so we have f name, which is going to be a string. We are kind of setting up our data. The first name, the data type for the first name is actually a string. Then last name, L name, equally a string. Image, let's pass that to a string. Next, we need to make a model out of this schema. So we're going to call this user model, and we pass on mongoose.model, and then the parameters here are simply, here we are going, the first parameter here is going to be the collection name. Remember, in a database we have collection, it's like kind of a table, and there we have records or documents in a NoSQL sense. So here we have mongoose.model, and the first param we're going to pass on is the name of the collection. Now in Mongo DB, whenever the name of the collection is passed in here, what is actually saved or what is actually written in the database is the plural form of what has been passed in here. So in our case we have user, but when we open up our Mongo DB database, we are going to find the collection name as users with S at the end. And the second param is actually the schema, which in our case is user schema. Okay guys, that's set for our schema. Next, I want us to configure. Remember, this actually works just for the first name and the last name fields. Now we need to set up Multer for our image. Multer will be responsible to handle the way our image is uploaded and then saved in our database. And so to set up Multer, I think it's better I take you back to this npm page of Multer. Here it is precise that Multer actually adds a body object and a file object to the request object. This therefore means that the body object contains the values of the text fields of the form, and then the file or the files object contains the files uploaded via the form. And so Multer can actually play the role of body parser, because it is actually useful for getting the text field from the form. it's kind of very important. It plays a role too. And the file object actually has some keys which you could just go through them here. We have the field name, which is the field name specified in the form, and you have others. So I would highly recommend that after this tutorial you can check them out. They are actually going to help a lot. So let's get back here. So here we are going to configure Multer. Now the first thing we are going to configure is actually the storage, which we are going to use multer dot disk storage. Then we're going to set up the destination. Request response, file, a callback, Okay guys, at this point we are actually setting up where our image should be kept when uploaded. Since we have set up a local server in our machine, in our computers, we need to set up a folder where these images will be kept when uploaded. So we have actually set this up in the upload folder. So that's actually the role of the destination. Next, we need to configure how Multer will actually save our file. How it's going to save our file. Callback, file dot field name, and we concatenate that to this, and then date dot now, path name, file dot original name. Alright guys, this second configuration actually configures how Multer should save our file. As you can see, we're trying to give in the syntax of the name of the file. So we have file.field name, including the date, and we concatenate that with a dash, the date, and the extension. That's set. The next thing to do now is to actually set up our post route so that we will be able to actually upload our image, including the other fields, which is the first name and the last name. Now let's quickly set up our post route before we could actually test out the application. And so app.post. So remember, at the level of the form, we actually said we would put this, the form action would be at the post route, at the route named post. So post. Then if we had to follow the norms of how it is usually done, then the image will be left out. But now, because Multer is actually present to handle our images, we equally need to add up a method from Multer, which is the upload.single, which actually handles uploading a single image where its param is actually the field which actually has the image or the field name. Then, as usual, we pass on our function, request and response function. Then we would equally ensure that whenever an image is uploaded and the button save clicked, we would want to log the information or the properties of the file object. So request.file, which is going to be from Multer. Then, in order to upload our image and the other fields, first we must create an instance of the model. So we could just assign that to a variable, let's say x, and then new user model. Remember, that's the name of our model, user model. Now it is actually from the information that we get from our form that we are going to pass that on to the instance of this model that we're going to save in our database. So example, we're going to have x.fname, which is a first name, is equal to request.body.fname. Remember, at our form, at every field we gave it a name property, a name attribute, and that of first name was actually f name, last name was actually l name, and image was simply image. So we have request.body.fname, l name, the same thing, image, request dot. Now at this point it is actually going to change. Remember, when we're actually looking at the npm page of Multer, it said Multer actually brings in the request, the file. I think let's check that out again. Two objects, the body object and the file object. So to actually get our file, we equally need to pass on request.file name. Then we're going to quickly save that with the method .save, and then we're going to check for errors, and if there's no error, then we log on the console saved successfully. Else we log the error. Now we're going to make sure, remember we said after saving in our database, we are going to create another web page in such a way that whenever a web page where we can actually retrieve the saved information or the saved user information alongside with their images. And so I'm going to set this up so that whenever a user information gets saved, we are going to be redirected to the user's route. So we are going to actually save that. We are going to open up that EJS file in the user's route. Okay, that's set. Then now we actually need to set up our user.ejs file. So actually this is where we are going to retrieve or display our available users. But before that, I think let me explain something at the level of express.static. Actually, this folder, the uploads folder, actually needs to be made public, so that this will actually give flexibility to the server to actually get the images and display them on our user homepage. At user.ejs, we are actually going to set up our HTML template, users. Then we're going to display the information on a table. on an HTML table. But before that, let us quickly set up the route responsible to actually get the information from the database. It's called query or to retrieve, and so it's going to be another get route. So we're going to set up app.get. This route is actually going to be the user's route. So Mongoose actually makes it a lot easier to accomplish this by simply using the method .find, and we are going to be getting that from our user model. .find .then function we're going to get a document, and then we're going to pass it on response.render to the user.ejs file, and then we are going to assign the documents to a variable item. So we save that. I'm checking up this error. Response.render okay, I think everything is fine, but then if there are any errors, we're going to debug that. Let's check this out. I think there's an error which we need to sort out. Oops. Oh, I figured that out. We added an equal sign which wasn't supposed to be there. If we save, I think oops, we failed to add the arrow function properly. I think that's why there was an error. So if we check, everything is fine now. Okay guys, let's get back to our user.ejs and let's see how we can actually retrieve or display the gotten document on an HTML table. Remember, the documents that we retrieve have been saved in the item variable. So to actually do this, let us put this at the center, and then we set an h1, just call that users, and then we set up our table border border 1, we set up table head, and so we are going to have first name, last name, and then the image. So this is the header of our table. We're going to have a column for first name, last name, and then the image. Next, we need to set up the other rows which will contain the documents in our database, but then we cannot actually put them in manually, else only one row will be displayed. Therefore, in EJS there is the for each kind of loop where we are going to take each record and place that in its own row. And so to achieve that with EJS, we simply need to set it up this way. Item, remember our document has been retrieved and it has been saved in item. So item.each for each. What this actually tells the server to do is, for each row, for each document, set up a row for that document. Actually, that's the meaning of this. So function, get the item, and so we put in the right syntax for EJS and year equally. Add this and this. That's it. Now we set up the row and then the data. And so for each row, the first item is actually going to be the first name. And so which is going to be, let me set this up for simplicity purposes. So that with this I would be able to copy and paste. So for the first name, to get the first name, we are simply going to pass item.fname. So I'm going to copy this and do that for every table data. So the next, we're going to have item.lname, and next we're going to have item dot image. But then we can't actually do this as such because we are actually passing on an image. Therefore, we need to use the HTML image syntax, which is img okay, that's it. Okay, so let's try it out and see if it works successfully. So we check out running on port 3000. Let's restart and see. Running on port 3000. So let's open up our web page. Let's input our first name, John. Let's get a file. Let's see. Let's get this. Save. So we get the first and the last name, but the image has not been displayed. So we must figure that out. Let's see. We've gotten the image source. And then we've gotten this. Let's kind of set up the image height and width. Let's say 70. Height, let's say 70 equally. Let's try it out again. Hello world. Let's try another image. Okay, let's figure the error out. But before that, I think I should refresh this. We have our database studies. So, and here we have 2 documents. And as you can see, the image is not available in the database. So we need to figure out this error. Let's check out our server. And so at the level of our server, let me check the schema. Everything works fine. Now I've figured out the error. The error is at the level of our image. We made a mistake. I think this is supposed to be file name. Let's save. So let's try that out again. I think let me delete this all over. So we begin all over. Localhost 3000. first name, Jan, image, cover one, let's save. And that's it, guys. We have an image. So let me see if I could actually, can we kind of remove the increase the size? So let's kind of set this to 90. Or let's remove this completely. Let's see. Not the best. $100. Let's set this up to 150. So guys, okay, let's try out another user. Let's say Mary, and let's set up another. Tricoder. Okay guys, that's it. We've come to the end of our tutorial. So I think you must have learned something new. Thank you for watching. You can always subscribe. If you have any difficulties, any challenges, you can always drop at the comment section and we will of course get back to you. Thank you for watching.